Hello, and welcome again to Aerospace Cookies. Today, Mark and I, Kristen, are going to be talking a little bit about the movie that came out recently called
Disclosure Day.
Disclosure Day.
Yes.
With Emily Blunt and
yes.
directed by Steven Spielberg. And we went and saw it on opening night because, well, Mark loves sci-fi, and so do I.
We didn't even see the trailer or anything.
Right.
We just knew that Steven Spielberg was coming out with a space movie, and we wanted to see it. Well, I wanted to see it, and you said, yeah, I'll go on a date with you.
And I said I really wanted to see it. And actually, it was really kind of fun to go into a movie blind, to not know what's going to happen, not have seen the previews, not have seen... I mean, nowadays, usually everyone's talked a movie to death before it's even been released. Mm-hmm. So to go in with like no expectations was super fun for me. Anyway.
Yeah, for me too.
Okay, so Disclosure Day. What did you think?
I liked it. It was a good movie. Steven Spielberg did E.T., a long time ago. I was a little kid when I went and saw it in the theater.
I remember vividly, actually.
And from that point, he had said, I'm never going to do a movie where the aliens are the bad guys. But he got together.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was kind of something he said.
Okay.
But he didn't entirely stick with it, because he did War of the Worlds, did the remake of War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. And of course, in that movie, the aliens are most, I don't know, we're going to spoil it. They're not good guys.
They're not. I think that's not
It's been around long enough.
I mean, War of the Worlds.
And if they don't know, it's their fault. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the War of the Worlds I grew up on was done in the 1950s or maybe the 60s.
Yeah.
And that was just really a classic. It was a great movie. And the remake didn't disappoint.
Is that the one with Tom Cruise?
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't realize Spielberg had anything to do with that one.
So. I think he did. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
comment if I'm wrong.
Yeah, right. Let us know.
And so then this was back to, aliens aren't necessarily the bad guys. And so once again, he's doing a movie, and it did have kind of the feel of the movie E.T. to it, I thought.
I really loved, of course, I love character-driven stories. And this one, all the characterizations are great. Like, you really believe the people, and they are people, and they are personalities, and they're going through their own things on top of the layer of the bigger story being told.
Some moral dilemmas.
Yes, right, very much so. And I thought it was really well acted too. Emily Blunt is good in everything she does. And she does everything.
I don't think she's done a bad movie yet. All the way from the what did they call her in the hey, you're late. What took you so long? We started recording a long time ago. It's about time you showed up. They called it Live, Die, Repeat, and there was another.
Oh yeah, Tomorrow Never
Dies,
something like that. No, that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Anyway, Live, Die, Repeat.
And so she did that, and was very much the tough girl, military frontline soldier, and then of course she was also Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins too. And you can't really get
those are about as different as you can get.
Yes,
and then she's done quirky period pieces that I've seen, like probably small budget films in Ireland, and she's done everything big budget. And
she did Sicario, which you haven't seen.
I haven't
seen. That was a dark one where she's border patrol kind of work.
Yeah,
and she's naive, plays a naive character. She does a very good job. And then she was in Fall Guy.
Oh yeah. And then, even way back, The Devil Wears Prada, I saw that movie way back when it first came out. I didn't know who she was. She was not a known actress at the time.
Mostly nobody at that point.
At least to me. Yeah. But I remember when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, the one who played that side assistant character, she was the best. And she was. She's awesome.
She did great.
So, anyway, so she's good in everything she does, and she did not disappoint. I think the funny thing is that she's also hilarious. Like, a lot of her roles aren't comedic, but she gets to use a bit of that comedic timing in the character that is in this movie.
That's true.
Did a good job of that too. So this is, by the way, the non-spoiler part of talking about the movie.
Yes.
So before we get to spoilers, anything else you want to say about it in general?
In general, not really. It's a good movie. It's as you said, it's more character driven, more human interest story, and true to sci-fi. It looks at the big. What if this were to happen in society? What would be the outcome?
Yeah,
and that's the thing I like about sci-fi, of course, as I mentioned before.
It's the what if, what would happen? kind of question.
And
it was,
I don't know how we bridge into spoilers because I still haven't seen the trailer, so I don't know what people have seen.
Trailers probably spoil everything. So from here on out, we might spoil something. But first, give us, what's it about? What's the that's not too much of a spoiler to tell us what the fundamental.
Well, it's kind of funny because it's almost I got the impression that he started making this movie maybe 4 or 5 years ago, because the movie is about the government has all this secret footage about space aliens that they've hidden from the public, and the question is, are we going to release it? And of course, in history right now, real time, the U.S. government has begun releasing a whole lot of footage that they've captured from military aircraft that have picked up this stuff.
And no one's saying, hey, this is space aliens. But we are saying we don't know what it is.
Yes.
And they're releasing it, right?
Yeah.
And so this is kind of the, what if it's all space aliens and there's more stuff that's there?
Yes, exactly. And so that gets into one of the main characters. He has violated his non-disclosure agreements, and he was responsible for maintaining the security of a whole bunch of these secret files. And he has stolen them, and he's on the run.
Yeah. And that's really, I think the tensest parts of the movie are that, him being on the run and being chased down. It's not fully an action movie, but it does have its action sequences that are in that part of it. The sort of how do you get away? And then there's also the who's the bad guy. They're not totally clear for sure. You have to assume you think
I don't know
who the good guys and the bad guys are.
I think it's pretty clear who the bad guys are.
Well, that does become pretty clear.
Oh yeah, at the beginning you don't know, but yes, it becomes clear.
Yeah. And so yeah, that question also, it's set on this backdrop. It's very subtle that the whole world is falling apart, like on the verge of World War III.
Yeah, and that's very much in the it's the backdrop.
You almost have to
set, not
read
the characters.
The hints to even know that that's the backdrop of what's going on in the movie.
But yeah, the news is on somebody's TV in the background, and it's like, oh, North Korea's blah 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 blah, and
and
tensions at an all-time high. We're at DEFCON 5. Stuff like that.
And you're kind of like picking up on what's really going on behind them, and then that's the setting of, if the world is in turmoil, can we release this? Can people handle this knowledge? And that's actually one of the things I've railed at in movies. It sort of always makes me mad. Well, we can't tell this secret to the world. They would, I don't know, couldn't handle it. And that always to me makes me mad. I'm like, what do you mean we can't handle it? And
that's one of the big themes in this movie, of course, is the company that's holding the information in secret feels that if it were to be released, it would unleash chaos on mankind.
Yeah, and they're like, we're already in such a chaotic moment, then that would be even worse.
Yes, it would throw gas on the fire, as the expression goes, and so they're doing everything they can to protect that from happening in this very volatile period of human history.
Yeah, but then there's also that moral question of, are you really trying to hold on to it out of altruistic purposes, or is it really all just a power play and you want your money?
The bigger question is, how come they have the right to decide for us?
Yes, which I think is a really good and true question, right?
Yeah, and I think public sentiment at this particular point in time, post-COVID, people have really asked the question. U.S. government made a lot of decisions on our behalf related to COVID, and they were wrong. And so, trust of these government scientists and their all-knowing what's best for humanity has lost confidence entirely. Humanity.
To me, they gain confidence. A government or a leader gains the confidence of the people he's leading by explaining, or she is leading.
Well, and releasing the data. This is what we do know, and this is what we don't know. And based on this information and the opinions of this person, we advise this.
Yeah, that's.
And a lot of people were upset with, Donald Trump was president at that time. A lot of people were upset with him because he left it in the hands of the states to make their own decisions, what they did as far as lockdowns.
But when you don't know, that makes more sense to me that you
spread it out.
The smallest form of government to make the best choices they can, right?
Yes,
what is that quote about if you don't have trust in the people's
I think it was Jefferson.
Jefferson, yeah.
Yeah, he says, if you feel the people are not informed enough to make a wholesome I think he used the term discretion, different English back then, wholesome discretion. The solution is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion.
Right. Not to take the choice from them, but to inform them.
Yes.
Yeah. Good
and,
quote.
Of course, we believe in self-determination, in, popular sovereignty.
Yeah.
And so really, in the American experiment, which is still ongoing and so far has gone pretty good, lots of problems, but, America's doing better than any other country in the world, that really reinforces that the correct approach is to inform the people, and so that the people can then exercise their sovereignty, because we are the sovereigns of the United States of America.
So I don't think we had anybody to argue the other side in this conversation. I guess this means we agreed with the movie that they should tell everyone about it.
Yes, which
release the footage, tell everybody what's really going on. We think that that's the better way.
Yep, absolutely.
And actually, so super spoiler. No, we'll get to that later. I want to talk about the end of the movie later. First, I want to ask you this. What I think is really interesting about this release of documents is that, this footage that they've released recently, and I can't remember. I know some of it's been this year in 2026, but it seems like it was a few years ago that they released some of the first military footage of some of these unexplained. Oh, some leaked.
It leaked.
Okay. Well, when it leaked a few years ago, I remember watching it, and I will admit that you came to me and you said, you should watch this. So anyway, it's fascinating. I don't know if any of you have watched that kind of footage. They've got, and they're different, but interesting flying things that are doing motions that nothing. I'm an aerospace engineer too. Well, I studied aerospace engineering. So I know what makes things fly and how aerodynamics work and how rockets fly. And none of these things seem to fly like any of that stuff. I mean, they make sudden, swift movements. They hover in the air. They dive under the water. They move in ways that nothing that we know of moves. Now that drones are more popular than they used to be, I can see it more likely for a drone to move in those sorts of ways, but not quite. So anyway, and a lot of this goes back further. So I think that's really interesting. But what do you think about it, Mark?
So it's interesting you asked that, because several years ago at work, this was a few years before things started leaking, a colleague came to me and brought me over to his government computer. This was all on the up and up. Nothing was leaked. And he says, I want you to look at this, because I was with a group of people that it was a broadening experience for me. And they knew my background was space engineering. And so he said, can you look at this footage for me? And so he sat me down on his computer. I looked at the footage. I'm going,
For those listening, Mark is making very puzzled faces, sort of a zoom in and try and get a better look.
So, when you look at something, a video, and then you watch it again and again and again, you begin to pick out more things, you see more things, and it begins to make more sense. I'd watch these videos over and over and over, and nothing more congealed. It's like, this does not make sense. I'm not picking up anything additional. And as you said, the classic one I like to point to is Iron Man. He does this thing where he comes flying in, he just lands on the ground, hits with a thud, and comes to an abrupt stop very suddenly.
Yeah.
He would be Jell-O on the inside of his suit.
It's just, you brought this one up recently, right? It does not work.
And even if you're like, oh, the suit is holding his whole body in. Well, your heart is in this sac that allows it to move around a little bit, kind of float around in there. And the arteries and veins that plug into the heart are not. And so, as the expression goes, it's not the fall that kills you, it's the stop. And what happens is the heart goes further than the veins and arteries can. And so they tear, and you're dead within a couple heartbeats. And so you look at this footage, and these things are doing maneuvers that a human body cannot withstand. And so you say, okay, so maybe it's a drone. And you say, okay, possibly, but you consider the kind of propulsion it would take and how big that engine would be and how much weight that would add to that object. And then you consider the type of superstructure you would have to build to be able to withstand those kinds of turns. You would have to build a superstructure that is stronger and more robust than a rocket engine could lift or a jet engine could lift. So, like I said, as I'm looking at this footage, it's like, I can't imagine how this would work. And so I told my boss, he said, what's your opinion on this? And I said, the United States of America and our peer allies and adversaries, particularly Russia and China, none of us have the technology to be able to do this, as far as we know. And, I don't know everything. There's a lot of classified government stuff out there, but there's always a trail. They talk about evolutionary technology versus revolutionary technology. Evolutionary technology is a better condenser microphone, better elements in it, higher definition television. Revolutionary technology is something like the internet. It completely changes society. And now we're in the middle of a revolution with AI. And so looking at that film footage, what the things in that film footage would, in order to do that, would require multiple revolutions of technology all at the same time. And any engineer worth his salt isn't going to take a bunch of revolutionary technologies and integrate them into one thing and do it all at once. They're going to do one at a time, like the United States did with stealth. Stealth fighters, at one point in time, they said, okay, we have these things. And so the early stealth fighters, like the F-117, you can see it's got a lot of geometrical shape on it to bounce the radar signals away, so they don't go back to the receiver, so they don't see the object in the radar. Well, now you look at the F-35, very, very, probably one of the more stealthy fighter aircraft. You look at the B-21, they're all smooth and curvy. They're no longer bouncing the radar away. They're absorbing it.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, so that's an example of an evolution of technology. And you looked at what's in this film footage coming off of these Navy aircraft mostly, and it's multiple revolutions. And we just don't do that. And there's nothing coming up. Well, in China, everything that comes out of China is just a copy of something else. So they don't really count. But you look at this technology come out of Russia, you look at the technology coming out of the United States, there is nothing that's even close to that. It would, as I said, require multiple evolutions or revolutions of technology to get to what we're seeing in that footage. And then, I don't know if you've seen it, but the Trump administration's also released some footage or some photographs from Apollo that had been hidden in the bottom drawer.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so I think it was from Apollo 12. There's a picture of an astronaut standing on the moon, and there's this object way off in the distance behind him. And it's symmetrical. You can't tell what it is, but it's symmetrical and it's got geometric patterns in it. Nothing that looks natural. Now, the thing that you say, well, maybe the cameraman, consider the gravity on the moon, maybe he had something funny in his hand and he just chucked it and then said, okay, smile, and snap the picture while it was tumbling away. That's what I'd say is the most probable thing that's in the picture, but astronauts wouldn't do that.
That's true.
And I could tell you why.
Very responsible.
If something happened on one of their missions that they couldn't explain that might put the mission at risk, they would cancel it. Oh. So an astronaut would never do anything
that might get his mission canceled because they want to go.
So you should look at that image. I think there were two of them. I think one from Apollo 12 and one from 14 or 15.
Okay.
And it's objects that are, you got the lunar landscape, and up in the distance, looks like it's in orbit, is something that is not something we built positively. It's not one of the stages from the Apollo or anything like that.
And doesn't seem to be like a reflection in the lens or something like that, right?
Exactly, yeah. And it doesn't. And so maybe we should mention that because, you look at the geometry, some of the things that people have thought have been something, they actually look at the geometry of the lens, how the lenses are stacked in the optic, and they could say, oh, if you hit it with light just this way, that's thing you're looking at is the pattern of the structure inside the lens reflecting.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
And also, you consider the military cameras, you have to remember, all right, so radar, you're bouncing something off something to see it, right?
Okay.
One of the best ways to pick up an aircraft is by its heat signature.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to bounce something off of it. It's got a jet engine making a ton of heat.
That is true.
And you either keep it inside the airframe and catch on fire, or you have to let it out. Right.
You have to let it out. So
that's why there are so many heat-seeking missiles. The F-117, the fighter aircraft or the stealth aircraft, that was shot down over Kosovo was hit by a heat-seeking missile, not by a radar missile.
Oh.
I don't know all the details, and I've looked, but I'm hearing it was hit by, or people said it's most likely a heat-seeking missile, because again, you can't get rid of all of that heat. So most of your aircraft sensors, so when you look at the film footage, which is typically the HUD, the heads-up display inside the fighter cockpit, you see things going on in there. Usually those sensors are more sensitive in infrared. In light, we can't see with our eyes, but the aircraft camera picks up and then converts to a visible image.
Right.
So you're looking at more heat than you are structure. And so what you're looking at may not make sense to your brain.
Oh, because, what you see there isn't what you normally see in visible spectrums.
Right. And so you have to consider that when you're looking at these images as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
I'm going to have to ponder about that. They're just in a different spectrum than I have senses for. And I'm seeing their signature.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so, crazy stuff like that.
Okay, but so you're sitting with this colleague. He shows you all of this footage. You're like, okay, nothing I know explains any of this.
Yeah, and that was was the final thing I said to him. I said to him that there is no technology in the United States of America that I'm aware of, and I'm aware of more than most people are. And I said, nothing in Russia, in all of these fields, we're ahead of Russia. And of course, China is just copying everybody else. I said, this makes no sense. This is not something that I'm aware of any Earth-based technology being developed,
Yeah.
And of course, he's...
Am I allowed to ask?
Sure. He said, that's the consensus. So I was kind of happy because I was spot on with the expert. I think what he was doing was he was getting someone from outside. And, when he said that, I'm like, oh, you're letting on. You know more than you're letting on.
Yeah, right. It wasn't just like a curiosity.
Yeah, I couldn't ask, but I did, and he, of course, wouldn't answer. But I was proud of myself because he's obviously getting an opinion from someone outside the group because, he was probably worried that there was some groupthink going on.
Yeah.
So he got a total stranger who had not been part of any of the discussions that says, what's your opinion?
No lead up to influence your opinion.
Right. And so I gave him my opinion, and it was the same as all the experts. It's like, yes, I am smart. Pay me more.
Okay, but so now a ton of this has been officially released.
Yeah, so
similar type footage, right?
You got to like him or hate him. You got to give some credit to the Trump administration. They released a lot of information on the JFK assassination, the Martin Luther King assassination. Totally botched the release of the Epstein files.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And the Trump administration also has been determined to release all the information we have about what might be going on with what we used to call them UFOs in our childhood, which was Unidentified Flying Objects.
Yes.
And now they're UAPs.
Is that just because they had to have a new acronym?
I don't
UAP?
know. Somebody got promoted and they wanted to leave their mark.
Unidentified? Astronomical problem?
No. I'm not sure U is unidentified. It might be. And then AP is aerial phenomenon.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it's because...
Unexplained aerial phenomenon?
It might be.
Oh, we'll look it up. We'll put it down in the notes.
But they might have changed it because some of these things aren't flying. They're cruising along and then they dip into the water and then they come out of the water.
So suddenly you can't call it just a flying object anymore.
For the viewers, if you've... I'm sorry, it's a little bit dark and morbid, but you should look at some of the aircraft footage from World War II where aircraft get shot down and they try to ditch in the ocean. And when they hit the water, the water at those speeds is as hard as rock.
Yeah.
And the aircraft just
same
rip
as the
apart.
Ground.
Yeah, the airplanes just rip apart. Unless they can get slow enough to where they don't hit too hard, and then they usually flip end over. So they teach pilots to exit their aircraft underwater and then head to the bottom of the aircraft because the planes usually flip upside down. And so down is usually up after you crash, but you don't aware of that. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, they hit the ground, they rip apart, and you're seeing this footage of these objects, and they're flying along, and they dip into the water, and they lose no speed. And there's no obvious propulsion on them either. So you look at it and go, okay, is there an increase in propulsion when they hit the water so they don't lose their momentum? We don't see anything like that. They just go into the water and they come out of
and then they
it
just
like it was
come out.
anime or something.
Oh,
It makes no sense.
Can I tell you, when I have watched this footage, that's what I'm thinking. It's not just that it would like kill someone who's doing it or we don't have the technology to do it. It's that the physics don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
How can you
that's
change
true.
momentum, either direction or medium or anything, and have that work? The physics of my instinctual how an object behaves
Yeah.
seems to get
So
broken. by
in
some of
order
them.
to break those physics, or they're not breaking physics because physics is physics,
yeah,
right?
so
It's
something
the
we don't
rules.
understand.
So you'd have to go all the way down to gravity and mass, and something's being manipulated in gravity and mass to enable that
Whatever is
equation to
happening.
balance whatever's happening. Yeah. Oh,
Well.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think it is, Mark?
What do I think?
No, yeah. Before we go back to the movie,
you get
aliens, space aliens.
Am I allowed to get a little religious?
Sure.
Best explanation. So we're talking probabilities here.
Right.
City of Enoch. That's the highest probability.
Ooh, all right.
The ancient civilization that had achieved the true utopian paradise, which is, people with perfect freedom choosing to live in perfect righteousness, and God lifted this civilization into heaven.
Because they were so good and they took care of each other, and so they went up into heaven.
So
they're somewhere and they've got better technology because they weren't fighting the whole time.
Yeah, because they weren't building armies and blowing up everything they'd built every 5 or 10 years.
They figured out something better.
Right. And so their technology would progress much faster. And so you look at the gap of space, it's just, I'm sorry. As one of my college professors said on this very topic, he says, yes, I think there are space aliens, but I don't think any of them have ever made it here.
Right.
Because that's what's most probable.
Because really, that's one of our biggest science fiction leaps we make that we really can't figure out how to do is
faster than light.
Because speaking of something physics says is impossible, right?
If you're looking at manipulating
those distances,
if you're looking at manipulating gravity and mass, then maybe it becomes possible.
Then maybe you can.
Yeah. I don't know.
But still, it seems less likely to you that someone could have bridged that gap.
Than
something else.
It's, as I've told you, we started with the Drake equation, which were half a dozen factors that said this is what if you multiply all these probabilities together by the times the number of planets. That's the problem. That's the number of civilizations there are in the universe, right?
Right.
Well, we now know there are a whole lot more factors than just these 6. It was wound up. We've learned that it was of critical importance that we have a large moon, because it becomes an asteroid sponge and reduces, not eliminates, but reduces the number of mass extinction events due to meteor strikes. And so now you look at the number of factors involved. As I tell people, it's more likely.
The Drake equation now has like 15 things tacked on the end of it, doesn't it?
Well, Drake, the historic Drake equation was what it was originally. Okay. But so that same equation with all the factors on it. As I tell people, the probability is now more likely that God exists and we don't than we exist and he doesn't. So it's just, Earth has become so improbable as to just boggle the mind.
Yeah.
So obviously there's more going on that we don't understand or refuse to understand.
And whether it's technology or aliens or people on Earth that didn't fight from the city of Enoch, we don't know what this stuff is.
Or God.
So it's pretty fun to go to a movie, or God. Yes, it's pretty fun to go to a movie that speculates about it.
Yeah, like you said, the big what if, right?
Right.
It really gets some gears turning. I love it.
Yeah, it makes you think about it all. I don't know, if the whole world were explained, I don't know. Maybe
it'd get pretty boring, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah. So we've got so many things to still be curious about.
That was kind of that was an interesting question in Childhood End, which maybe we should talk about sometime.
Oh, we should. Gosh. And because I watched that movie version of Childhood's End right before this movie, they actually have conflated in my mind just a little bit because there's some similarities. So we definitely need to talk about that book, Arthur C. Clarke, and the movie adaptation, but another time. So to the end then of
the movie, Disclosure Day.
Disclosure Day, thank you.
That name just does not roll off the tongue. No.
At the end of Disclosure Day, this will definitely be a spoiler, but Disclosure Day, their idea of aliens was the classic little gray men with big heads and big eyes and frail bodies. Yes. Why do you think that's the direction they went? What do you think? Or what did you think about it? Did you mind? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
That's a good question as to why. I don't know, because especially if you look at what was the movie with Alan Tudyk? Resident Alien.
Resident Alien.
You know, they roll in all the different crazy ideas of
right.
what the
And the gray aliens
are.
are evil, man.
Yeah, that's right. So why did they go just the gray aliens? I would just guess because that's what got established with the whole Roswell incident. And so I would just guess
it just seems
that
to
they're
be,
just trying to say
it's in our
historic.
public psyche, zeitgeist.
Yeah, so what's your opinion?
Classic alien. I don't know. I wondered about that because he could have come up with something creative. And I almost think he picked,
like E.T.
And when I say he, yeah, like E.T. I think when I say he, I'm talking about Spielberg now, but maybe he didn't write it, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe the point they were trying to make was about us and our society, so they took what was in our mental image and society, because they were saying this had been going on for all these years, so there would have been real interactions, and we have all those people who say they were abducted by aliens and who describe this particular alien.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's become, so I think he was basing it on our lore of our world, and that is the lore of our culture.
That makes a lot of sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It is interesting,
especially if you're trying to make a movie that has an emotional appeal. You'd go with the preconceived notions already. You go with the
preconceived notions of our culture. But it
made
me think about it a little bit, because I started thinking back, and isn't Close Encounters of the Third Kind Spielberg?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, which, by the way, love that movie. And now that you're saying he likes good aliens, that makes sense too, right?
Yeah.
So, Close Encounters, weren't they also the little classic at the very end?
Yeah, you only
the aliens
see
that come
them,
off the ship.
You only see them in silhouette, I think.
I think so, but I still think they're
body
a little
shape
bit
of the little gray men.
Like they might be the little gray men kind of aliens in that movie too. And maybe maybe it's him who implanted it in our psyches enough that that's what we always think of, that he then used in his movie later. That's what I'm wondering.
We've all been tricked by this. It's not a government conspiracy. It's a Spielberg
conspiracy. That's what I'm saying, exactly. I think it's Spielberg from beginning to end. I don't know. It'd be interesting to look up, but I'm not kidding totally.
So you want another little factual tidbit on LGM?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
so pulsars, which are neutron stars, where the axis of the rotation, just like Earth, the magnetic field's off of the rotational axis. So the magnetic axis is pointing towards the Earth. So each time the planet orbits, magnetic field goes past us, and it creates a pulsing signal.
It's a sun that orbits. Not a
neutron
planet?
star.
Neutron star.
Neutron star. Okay. Yeah, so a sun that has collapsed into a ball of pure neutrons. Okay. And so anyway, it creates this pulsing. And so the first time they spotted one, they always give astronomical designations to things. You look at the designation of an asteroid.
Lots of letters and numbers and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So the designation for the first pulsar, I'm told, was LGM1.
Yeah.
And because it looked like a regular signal, they thought, is this intelligence? So LGM stands for Little Green Men.
Little Green Men. Yeah, definitely. Little Green Men 1.
Yeah.
That is great. What I love is that that's scientists with a sense of humor, which we always get.
Yeah.
But also the what if. We don't know. If you're a true scientist, you have to say we don't actually know.
Yeah, anyone who says the word established science is a politician, not a scientist.
That's true.
Because we are always changing. The age of the universe changed while I was in college.
Yeah.
They forgot to carry the 2 or something. I don't know.
Well, on that note, and is there anything else you wanted to wrap up with? I actually think this was a great discussion, and I'd say go watch the movie. I thought it was
really just to recap, it's a fun what if movie. What if we do learn positively for sure that there are aliens that are interacting with humanity, either maliciously or beneficially,
or if we find
just
out they've
observing.
been watching us for all this time or something.
The big question the movie asks is, should the people be made aware? And of course, the movie's conclusion is that the people really need to know, and it will be a good thing, not a bad thing. And I don't know if it'd be a good thing or bad. What happens in civilization would be beneficial or harmful to the human race. But I still believe the information should be made available. It should all be released.
And I'll continue that to Spielberg's vision, which is that why would we think that some advanced technological race would only come to harm us? Couldn't they maybe come to help us have peace and to help
going back to the city
a higher level of relationship to each other?
Yeah, going back to the city of Enoch, could they ever develop the technology to get here if they're blowing each other up?
Hey, good point there too.
I think they have to have a what's the term? A social apotheosis before they can have a technological one? Is that the right word?
I think that's the right word.
Okay.
So on that awesome note, Let's
Which
all
is
have a social
sci-fi.
apotheosis. I think
Yes.
that's a great idea.
Okay.
So,
Sounds
thanks
great
so
to
much
me.
for talking to me today, Mark.
Hey, I had fun. Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. Yeah, you only
aliens that
see
come
them,
off the ship,
you only
sort of?
see them in silhouette.
We're the last ones off the
But
train.
I
They
still
have the
think they're a
body
little
shape
bit
of the little gray men.
like they